Here is
Like, what
just
is-
to round out our clips from yesterday, in sort of the horrid juxtaposition of what was going on inside the U.S. Embassy as dozens, 60 at least, Palestinians were killed, including an 8-month-old child and doubly amputee. I think about 1,200 were injured. Here is Jared Kushner. And the lighting of this is sort of apropos too, isn't it? Like he's sort of like shrouded in shadow for some reason. And it is, I don't know, this is just full on. We're in almost like sci-fi creepy territory here with this. As, you know, this, someone had said on Twitter maybe that this is sort of like reminiscent of like colonial India or something. Like you have all the white people assembled inside at the, sort of like at the luncheon as people are being tear gassed outside.
Whatever happened to the Raj? Let's bring that back.
Here is Jared Kushner, the guy who has no security clearance and zero foreign policy expertise and really no business being there doing this.
While presidents before him have backed down from their pledge to move the American embassy once in office, this president delivered. Because when President Trump makes a promise, he keeps it. But today also demonstrates American leadership. By moving our embassy to Jerusalem, we have shown the world once again that the United States can be trusted. We stand with our friends and our allies, and above all else, we've shown that the United States of America will do what's right, and so we have.
There you have it, half shrouded in shadow, with the sort of the jib, doing the tracking shot. It's very, very creepy situation. And the interesting thing about this is just that I think, in the same way that the election of Donald Trump enhanced the sensitivity that brought about the Me Too movement, I believe, I don't think it would have happened if there wasn't this sort of like latent, almost sort of over demand for accountability that was brought about for this guy being elected president. I think in some respects we're going to see more sensitivity to what's happening in Gaza because the Trump administration did this.
I think
And
that's definitely
that
true.
is
I
the-
mean, under Obama and Bush, very similar things happened, and they were not only not covered, they were actively defended, like Cast Lead, which at the end of the day, I mean, Cast Lead killed a lot more Palestinians in Gaza than this does.
And I guess I don't know who I'm being fair to, maybe just history. There was no specific moment per se or act by the administration that would have drawn attention to that. Although, at least in the context of the Bush administration, they were actively pushing the Israelis to have this election in Gaza. I mean, now we're going back to 2004 or so, 2005, with the hopes that it would hurt Hamas. It ultimately ended up strengthening Hamas. And at least during the Bush years, there was a sense that, okay, the failure of the Bush administration is to provide some type of counterbalance to the Israelis. And this is even worse in that respect. Like it's not only is the U.S. government not providing a counterbalance domestically in Israel. It used to be the Israelis, part of the things like we can't go forward with a Cast Lead because of American, the Americans have told us to restrain ourselves, and we have some restraints that are put on us by America, and Israeli politicians on some level welcome that because there's a broad understanding in Israel that dynamic exists. And now we have a situation where, like, all bets are off. And it's also like a different Israeli administration. But
And Elmert said that it was the reverse, that at times they wanted to slow down and the interest groups here pushed them, right? So that dynamic existed too. But I also just want to say really quick, like, when Hamas got elected, that radically decreased their terrorism. So, that's just another thing that needs to be put on the record too. I mean, Hamas whatever. I hate to even have to constantly stipulate this. Of course, I loathe Hamas. But what we talk of, in a certain sense,
doesn't sound like it.
as the official spokesperson for Hamas on the Majority Report Network, but their political profile has changed radically since they were elected to lead Gaza.
Now, to be fair, there are still Palestinians who are drawing swastikas on kites.
Right. So, yes. So but I mean, there was a time where no way exculpatory of Israeli aggression, occupation, and so on and so forth. But there actually was a time where Hamas, like in 2002, was actually committing like its own genuine atrocities.
Yeah.
And that was actually part of the mix. That hasn't been the case in ages.
But here is Ben Shapiro on Fox and Friends to explain from his headquarters on how this is in an amazing sort of boomerang play. Hamas has been responsible for Israeli soldiers, snipers killing Palestinians. Here is Fox and Friends just unbelievably upset on how the U.S. press is depicting Israel as the aggressor here. It's crazy.
Right. 60 have lost their lives, over just under about 130 seriously wounded after they stormed the border.
Okay, pause it for 1 second. Let me just, what's his face? Not Ducey. Kilmeade has not even finished in a complete sentence, and there's like too many things that need to be corrected. First of all, they didn't lose their lives. Their lives were taken from them. Okay, there's a difference. I can lose my keys, but if you come over and you take my keys, that's different. So they were shot. That's how they lost their lives. They were killed. Well over 130 injured. There was no storming of any fences. There was protests outside the fences, but they can only protest outside the fences because they're not allowed to go anywhere else.
Stormed the border on the Gaza-Israel divide. Ben Shapiro joins us now, editor-in-chief of the Daily Wire, syndicated columnist, host of the Ben Shapiro podcast. Ben, first off, do you feel as though the coverage has been balanced, like, for example, we just showed you?
No, I mean, I think that there's so many media outlets that are acting as propaganda arms for Hamas that it's actually quite incredible. Hamas has not been
it is incredible. You know, what has been incredible about this is that all you hear about are the 60 Palestinians killed, the 8-month-old baby that was killed, the double amputee that was killed, and the hundreds of Palestinians who were injured. You don't hear anything about the Israelis that were killed in this conflict or that were injured in this conflict. Now, just to be fair, that's because there were none. But still,
for Hamas that it's actually quite incredible. Hamas has not been unclear about their intent here. They've been saying for weeks they want to send literally 100,000 people to storm the border with Israel. Hamas has been obvious. They say we want to break in, we want to kill Israelis. They're not hiding the ball here, and the media are hiding the ball. The media are playing propaganda wing for a terrorist group, which has made clear their intent. There are people who are storming the border, attempting to kill Israeli soldiers, sending kites with incendiary devices over the border, flinging Molotov cocktails at people who are manning the border, flinging stones at people.
Pause it. I just want to make it clear that he's saying that they're flinging stones on a border. So, in other words, if you're an Israeli soldier and there's a big fence there, you can walk probably 10 yards back from the fence and be in complete safety. Now, it is true. There are kites, ladies and gentlemen, that are lit on fire, that are flying over that if they're lucky, fly over the border.
That's how the Castros took Cuba.
Yeah, it was like a Monty Python sketch. Like, they have the bird kites. They're going to ride the castle. That's the most embarrassing thing I have ever heard in my life.
It's amazing that you could go out there and go like, they're hiding the ball. They're not even referring to the fact that these people have kites. There could be some of these people who are using paper airplanes. We don't know.
There was a report of a paper airplane with an anti-Semitic cartoon on it. And it is disgusting that the New York Times has not put that above its over
Brian,
60 Palestinians
I am
murdered.
sure at one point in your life you came in contact with someone who was using a rubber band and a paper clip. You have no idea the mark that can leave.
They have spitballs doused in kerosene.
Border, flinging stones at people manning the border, and the Israelis are acting with their usual restraint, and the media are treating this as the Israelis.
That is true.
He's right.
That is true. They
I was
are
gonna
acting with
say.
their usual restraint. Oh, you're flying a kite? I'm going to take this sniper and fire at you. Oh, you've got a rock that you're throwing with a slingshot? Here's my drone going to drop canisters of gas on you.
Our usual restraint. A paraplegic is attempting to throw a rock at us. Let's murder him and his family. And then say we're the most moral military in the world.
Border, flinging stones at people manning the border, and the Israelis are acting with their usual restraint, and the media are treating this as though Israelis are in indiscriminate fashion killing civilians. It's just a lie, but the media have been doing that for years.
Ben, what do you think the people who were in that soundbite montage right there would prefer the Israelis do?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is that they would prefer the Israelis stop existing, because these are the two choices. It's not that Hamas is not in control of the Gaza Strip. You heard one of the people in that montage say that these are people without a state. Israel withdrew from the Gaza Strip in 2005. Okay, the Gaza Strip has been entirely under the control of Hamas since 2006.
Pause it. I mean, this is, if Ben Shapiro was on cable news in the late 30s in Germany, he would be saying, we have completely abandoned the Warsaw neighborhood that the Jews are living in. We completely abandoned it. We don't even dare.
We pulled out. They are running their
We
own
put a
money lending
fence.
schemes inside their own
Completely.
community. What are we doing?
You can find them growing a cucumber, maybe, if they can get some seeds and some water. But we're not even there.
The bottom
We're not
line
even there.
is do you blame us for everything, or do you want Jews to control the world?
That's it.
Because they do. The
That's
choice
forget
is
it.
very
That's
simple.
the difference.
But everybody blames Jews. We respond in our characteristically efficient and humane manner.
Yeah, we just
And
put
no
up,
one
we
gives
put up
us
a fence
credit.
around the Warsaw. It's okay.
Okay, the Gaza Strip has been entirely under the control of Hamas since 2006, when the Palestinians elected Hamas in an overwhelming majority. Hamas is a State Department designated terrorist group and one of the worst terrorist groups on the planet, and yet we're supposed to believe that this is Israel's fault, that Hamas is trying to storm the border. It's beyond all definition, and the attempt to link it, by the way, with the Jerusalem embassy opening is just insane. This has been going on for weeks. It's just the media haven't wanted to cover it, and they would prefer to blame President Trump for Hamas trumped up violence than to actually lay the blame at the feet of the people who are creating it.
Wow.
I was going to say that this is like, what would he be saying about apartheid in the 80s or the 70s? But then I was like, actually, and I don't know this, but maybe Ben Shapiro might actually literally say the same thing about apartheid.
I mean, I think he was too young, but I think he would have. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela's a terrorist.
It's completely.
The Boers have set up economic empowerment zones for the black Africans. They never get credit for that.
Constructive engagement.
It really adds insult to injury, too, that these words are coming from a couple of demonically possessed 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
To bundle this with Jared a bit.
I'm more like the child from The Omen. Jared is more like a abused teenager, but we both support the same policy.
We were in AZA 683 together, and we were.
Cool kid's philosopher, the intellect that the left is not brave enough to confront.
That's right.
Get the fuck out of here.